Hollywood isn't the only battlefield for AI anymore. Now, it's the video game industry under fire. For nearly a year, voice actors and motion capture performers have been on strike, fighting not just for better pay, but to protect their very identities from being cloned by machines. What's at stake? This is what you need to know. Digital shadows. For decades, video games have thrived on the backs of talented artists, developers, designers, musicians, writers, and increasingly, actors. These performers breathe life into characters, deliver gut-punching lines, scream in agony when their avatar is blown apart, and capture every subtle movement that makes a protagonist believable. But in 2024, the very performers who have helped elevate gaming into a billion-dollar storytelling juggernaut found themselves at war with their own digital shadows. At the center of this battle, artificial intelligence, a strike that shook the industry. On the surface, the 11-month strike that rocked the video game world looked like any other labor dispute. Compensation, working conditions, benefits. But buried deep within the negotiations was a fear far more existential. Actors weren't just demanding better pay, they were fighting to keep their voices, their likenesses, and ultimately their livelihoods out of the clutches of unregulated AI. "We are at an inflection point," said Duncan Crabtree Ireland, National Executive Director of the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA. "The consequences of not acting now could be devastating." The strike began after 2 years of failed negotiations with major studios like Activision, Electronic Arts, and Warner Brothers. The core issue? The studio's refusal to establish clear rules around the use of AI-generated performances, digital clones made from an actor's voice, likeness, or motion capture data. Over time, more than 160 game projects signed interim agreements, accepting the protections SAG-AFTRA sought. But others, including major titles like Hideo Kojima's Physint and Riot Games' League of Legends updates, saw delays or were forced to recycle old recordings. By the time the tentative agreement was announced, the video game industry had already taken a hit, but for many performers, the disruption was worth it. "This feels like diamond amounts of pressure suddenly lifted," said Sarah Elmela, voice actor and chair of the union's Interactive Branch Negotiating Committee. "It's been a long, vulnerable road." The AI threat. What performers feared most wasn't that AI would simply automate some tasks, it was that studios could digitally resurrect them, without consent or fair pay. In other words, you record once, and your digital twin performs forever. It's not just speculation. AI can already replicate a person's voice from minutes of recorded audio. Combine that with facial scans, motion capture, and a generative model trained on a performer's work, and the line between actor and algorithm gets blurry fast. For actors like Elmela, whose careers depend on nuanced emotion and physical embodiment, this isn't just about job security, it's about artistic autonomy. "Our work involves your inner child," she said. "It's being vulnerable, it's being playful. To see that replicated without permission, it's terrifying." This is especially true in gaming, where unlike film or TV, the player controls the narrative. Characters may grunt, yell, react, or interact dynamically based on player choices. AI could potentially fill in these variations, replacing the need for a living performer altogether. The deal. After months of tension, picket lines, and negotiation tables, the video game performer community has reached a pivotal moment, one that could reshape how AI is handled in the entertainment industry. The tentative contract between SAG-AFTRA and major video game companies contains what many are calling the most robust AI protections yet seen in interactive media. While this agreement doesn't solve every issue facing performers, it lays down a critical foundation, a blueprint for ethical collaboration between human creativity and artificial intelligence, a new era of performer rights. The biggest win? Control over digital replicas. One of the most alarming developments in recent years has been the growing ability of AI to replicate a person's voice, movement, and likeness with astonishing accuracy. In gaming, this technology threatens to sideline the very people who give life to the characters we love. Under the proposed deal, employers must obtain explicit written consent from performers before creating any kind of digital replica. This isn't a vague checkbox buried in a contract. It must be clear, documented, and secured during the performer's lifetime. That consent can also govern what happens after death, a crucial detail that protects the legacies of deceased actors from being used inappropriately or without family approval. This provision is groundbreaking, not just for its clarity, but for its recognition of human dignity in digital form. It ensures that performers are not reduced to mere data points to be manipulated at will by studios. Equal pay for digital work. Another key piece of the contract is time-based compensation. Simply put, studios can no longer cut corners by digitally replicating a performance and paying actors a fraction of what they'd normally earn. The time it would take to generate and refine a digital performance must be compensated at the same rate as if the actor performed it live. This clause protects against a dangerous loophole where studios might argue that AI saves time and money and therefore justifies lower pay. Now, they are required to recognize the labor involved in training AI, gathering data, and generating performances as equally valuable. It's a firm message. Just because AI is fast doesn't mean it's free. Transparency by design. For too long, performers have worked in the dark, unaware of how their voice recordings or motion captures were being used. The contract addresses this by mandating that employers provide detailed usage reports for every digital replica. These reports must outline how the replica was used, in what contexts, and what compensation is owed. It forces studios to be accountable and removes the ambiguity that often accompanies new technologies. This level of transparency is rare in entertainment and could become a model for film, TV, and even music contracts involving AI. Real raises, real respect. The contract also delivers real financial benefits. Performers will receive an immediate 15% wage increase upon ratification, followed by 3% annual raises over the 3-year contract period. In an industry where many actors work gig to gig, this increase is both symbolic and practical, a reward for holding the line in negotiations and a long overdue recognition of their value. Combined, these measures represent a bold step forward for creative labor rights in a digital age. They offer not just protection, but power, restoring control to the performers who make gaming the emotional, immersive experience that it is. As SAG-AFTRA's chief negotiator Duncan Crabtree-Ireland aptly put it, it's not the end of the fight, but it's a crucial checkpoint. With this agreement, the industry isn't just reacting to AI, it's finally taking charge of how it's used. What this means for gamers. For most players, the changes might seem invisible. The characters will still yell when shot, whisper secrets in cutscenes, and cry during heartbreaks. But behind those digital faces are real humans, ones who now have stronger rights over how their performances are used. Gaming continues to evolve, and AI will no doubt play a bigger role in animation, world building, and story branching. But this agreement ensures that performers remain an essential part of the creative equation. The result? A richer, more ethical gaming experience where technology enhances rather than erases humanity. Not the first battle and won't be the last. This isn't the first time video game performers have had to fight for recognition. A strike in 2016, also led by SAG-AFTRA, lasted 11 months and led to the introduction of bonus payments for performers based on the success of a game. That contract was ratified with 90% support. This latest agreement builds on those victories, but as Elmaleh and others have emphasized, the work doesn't stop here. Even though there's a deal that's been made, the things we haven't achieved yet, we're going to keep fighting for them, she said. Future negotiations will likely expand AI clauses, especially as technologies like real-time voice synthesis, procedural storytelling, and neural motion capture evolve. Why this fight matters beyond gaming. The gaming strike is part of a much broader movement. In 2023, Hollywood writers and actors also shut down production over similar AI concerns. Across industries, from journalism to education to customer service, AI is rapidly rewriting the rules of labor. The difference in gaming is the intimacy of the performance. Unlike a writer or data analyst, a voice actor lends their entire self, voice, expression, motion, and often their identity. The loss here isn't just financial, it's spiritual. When asked why she led the strike efforts, Elmaleh didn't hesitate. "Voice acting is core to who I am," she said. "I wouldn't do this if I didn't love what I do so much. It's special, and it's worthy of protection." A collaborative future. While the strike was tense, there's now an opportunity for unity. Both studios and performers have a chance to shape the future of AI together, one built not on exploitation, but collaboration. "Technology isn't the enemy," said Crabtree Ireland. "It's how it's used that matters." Studios benefit from actors who can improvise, interpret scripts, and bring human unpredictability to storytelling. Performers, on the other hand, can harness AI to enhance their own workflows, generate performance ideas, or even extend their creative reach. But that future can only exist if ethical frameworks are built now and updated regularly. SAG-AFTRA hopes to begin discussions with studios on evolving guidelines long before the contract expires in 2028. A turning point for interactive entertainment. The video game industry is projected to generate over $187 billion in revenue in 2024 alone, with blockbuster titles rivaling Hollywood films in both budget and cultural impact. The stakes are enormous. And with AI tools becoming cheaper and more accessible, the temptation to cut corners will only grow. But this agreement proves that success doesn't require sacrificing artistry or ethics. Instead, it's a call to innovate responsibly. If you want to stay updated on the future of gaming, digital rights, and AI in entertainment, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications.